The cannibal, a huge and monstrous black wild dragon who ate many Targaryen dragons rumored to have been alive before the Targaryens even came to Westeros, and rumored to be even older than Balerion, is going to appear in Season 2. The cannibal's background is unknown, with some thinking that he's House Targaryen's dragon gone rogue, while others theorize about him being the last Westerosi dragon, or some other Valyrian family's dragon. House of the Dragon sees House Targaryen at its best with as many as 17 dragons alive. Some of the dragons we saw in Season 1 of a Game of Thrones prequel, but most of them are yet to appear. And in Season 2 we are getting a first look at quite a few dragons. One of them is the most terrifying dragon, the cannibal, confirmed by a showrunner to appear when he said in an interview that all 3 wild dragons were designed and will be making appearances in the show. To make things even more exciting, the showrunner said that the designs for the wild dragons are his favorite. As Daemon Targaryen mentioned in Season 1 finale, Cannibal is one of the 3 wild dragons living at Dragonstone, all 3 of which they will try to tame and put on Rhaenyra's side. The Cannibal is the largest and the oldest of the 3 wild dragons. The Cannibal is black as coal, with menacing green eyes. The Cannibal is named by the small folk of Dragonstone. The Cannibal earned his name for his hostility towards House Targaryen's dragons, whom he is known to attack and devour. He feeds on carcasses of dead dragons, and descends upon the hatcheries of Dragonstone to gorge himself on newborn dragons and dragon eggs. In fact, he is the only dragon known to regard his own species as a source of food. The cannibal mostly refrains from killing people, unless they disturb him. The cannibal's exact age is not known. The wild dragon sheep stealer is said to have hatched when the old king was still young, which would be in early years of Jaehaerys I Targaryen, Aegon the Conqueror's grandson, and Cannibal is said to have been the oldest and largest of the wild dragons, being therefore even older than sheep stealer. The small folk of Dragonstone claim that the cannibal was on Dragonstone before the Targaryens fled the doom of Valyria and arrived to Westeros, over 100 years before Aegon's conquest. A possibility that would make him, despite his size not being considered bigger than that of Vhagar and Vermithor, the oldest living dragon in Westeros, even older than Vhagar and mighty Balerion. If the cannibal was from a different lineage of dragons altogether, if he did not come from the Targaryens. That might have also explained why it was so antagonistic to the other Targaryen dragons, constantly attacking them and eating them. It would also explain why he is not as big as Balerion or Vhagar, despite being possibly older than them, which is because he comes from a complete different lineage of dragons, perhaps from a different Valyrian family. Grandmaster Munkin and Septon Eustace doubt these claims, but they've been wrong before. The cannibal was known to attack smaller dragons. He laired at the back of the Dragonmont, on its eastern side. Prior to the Dance of the Dragons, would-be dragon tamers had made attempts to ride him a dozen times, and his lair was littered with their bones. In Season 2, when Prince Jaehaerys Velaryon calls for dragon riders in 129 AC, during the Targaryen civil war to gain more dragons and dragon riders for their cause. None of the dragon seeds who will attempt to tame the wild dragons are going to be foolish enough to disturb the cannibal, due to his reputation, and any who are will not return to tell the tale. In Season 2, a man living on Dragonstone's Silver Dennis, claiming to be descended from King Maegor the Cruel, will be one of the cannibal's victims. While none denied that Silver Dennis had Valyrian blood due to his silver hair and purple eyes, his claim of being a descendant of Maegor is called into doubt, as the king was infamously unable to produce a living heir, despite marrying multiple fertile women. Silver Dennis will not be foolish enough to try to tame the cannibal. Instead, he will try to master Sheepstealer, but the dragon will tear off his arm. As his sons struggle to staunch his wound, the cannibal descends on them, drives off Sheepstealer, and devours Silver Dennis and his sons. In 130 AC, when the carcass of a dragon grey ghost is discovered at the Dragonmont's base, burned and broken, torn apart and partially devoured, Dragonstone's castellan Sir Robert is quick to name the cannibal as the killer, although in truth it was actually Sunfire. Some fisherfolk begin to worry that the dragon would attack them as well, and urge Sir Robert to send knights to kill the cannibal. He refuses, reasoning that if they left the dragon alone he would not bother them, and forbids fishing in the waters to the east of the Dragonmont, where Grey Ghost's body had been found. However, Lady Baela Targaryen, Daemon's daughter, is not satisfied with this explanation, and proposes to discover the truth herself, as she has no fear of the cannibal and her dragon Moondancer, in her opinion, could outfly him. But Sir Robert stops her from taking the risk, and confines Baela to her chambers. The cannibal is one of a very few dragons that survived the Dance of the Dragons. In 132 AC, it's said that during the burial at sea of Lord Corlys Velaryon, the cannibal takes swing and flies to salute the deceased sea snake. However, Archmaester Gildane notes this may be a later embellishment of the story, since the cannibal would be more likely to eat the corpse than to salute it. Sometime after the end of the Targaryen civil war, the cannibal will vanish, likely due to his food disappearing, as cannibal was only eating Targaryen dragons, hatchlings, and dragon eggs, since most of the House Targaryen's dragons are killed during the Dance of the Dragons. Cannibal has to look for food somewhere else. Out of all dragons, I'm most excited to see the cannibal in Season 2 of House of the Dragon, and it's confirmed that we will see him. Now that you know everything about the cannibal, let's take a look at a few theories surrounding this legendary dragon. There are many theories about the cannibal, and even though I personally believe that he comes from a different lineage of dragons from a different Valyrian family, and not from the Targaryens, there's a theory that he's the dragon that was supposed to be Maegor the Cruel's. Theory states that the cannibal is Maegor's hatchling, and that he rejected cannibal because he wanted Balerion, not a newborn dragon. There is, I have to admit, something about destructive behavior of the two that makes a good parallel. It does seem fitting with Maegor's brutality and arrogance that he would not want a weak and small newborn dragon and would only ride Balerion. Just the idea of having a dragon would be amazing. No one besides the Targaryens have them. But that was not enough for Maegor. He needed the best of the best. While there are a few things that make this theory attractive, I just don't buy it, since there's something that contradicts it, and even disputes it in George R. R. Martin's book Fire and Blood. In there, George wrote that Rhaena Targaryen started the whole cradle-egg thing, in which a baby Targaryen is given a dragon egg and put in its cradle. So if it's explicitly stated by George R. R. Martin in his History of House Targaryen book that Rhaena Targaryen is the one who started this tradition, then it disputes the theory that the cannibal is Maegor the Cruel's hatchling. Neither Aegon the Conqueror, Rhaenys Visenya Aenys, Maegor, Rhaena, nor Aegon rode a dragon they hatched from a dragon egg, nor was a dragon egg given to them when they were babies. They all claimed grown dragons. Another theory about the cannibal is that he is the last Westerosi dragon, and did not come from the Targaryens nor the old Valyria. George R. R. Martin wrote this in the World of Ice and Fire book. Yet if men in the shadow had tamed the dragons first, why did they not conquer as the Valyrians did? It seems likelier that the Valyrian tale is the truest, but there were dragons in Westeros once long before the Targaryens came, as our own legends and histories tell us. If dragons did first spring from the 14 flames, they must have been spread across much of the known world before they were tamed. And in fact, there's evidence for this, as dragon bones have been found as far north as Ib, and even in the jungles of Sothorius. But the Valyrians harnessed and subjugated them as no one could. George R. R. Martin makes it clear that dragons existed and once inhabited Westeros long before Targaryens came. But they were wild dragons, and no one could tame them. Cannibal is said by the small folk to live in Dragonstone before the Targaryens came. So could he be the last Westerosi dragon? Is that why he's attacking House Targaryen's dragons and using them as his source of food? And is that why he remains a wild dragon? Is that why his size differs to Targaryen dragons even though he's supposed to be older than all of them? Perhaps. Perhaps he is the last Westerosi dragon. The theory I find most plausible for the cannibal is that he is Valyrian dragon, but not of House Targaryen, but rather some other Valyrian family, hence why he sees House Targaryen's dragons as enemies, and even potential threats. And that's why he's killing and eating so many House Targaryen's dragons, hatchlings, and dragon eggs. We know that the cannibal's home is Dragonstone, and if the small folk of that island is to be believed, then cannibal lived there before the Targaryens even arrived. You might wonder, how is it possible for a Valyrian dragon outside House Targaryen to be on Dragonstone? Aren't they brought there by the Targaryens themselves? Well, let me remind you that Targaryens were not the first Valyrians to come or live on Dragonstone. 2 centuries before the Doom and way before the Targaryens came to Dragonstone, Valyrians took possession of the island and built a castle upon it, which became the westernmost outpost of the Valyrian freehold. Only 12 years prior to the Doom of Valyria, Aenar Targaryen, the head of House Targaryen, relocated his family, their 5 dragons and all of their wealth to Dragonstone, after his maiden daughter Daenerys the Dreamer predicted the destruction of the Valyrian freehold. So for almost 2 centuries, other Valyrians inhabited Dragonstone, and in my opinion the cannibal belonged to one of those Valyrian families, and either stayed on Dragonstone because his owner died, or was a newborn dragon who was never claimed, or even more likely the cannibal was a dragon egg left behind by a Valyrian family who once inhabited Dragonstone. That would explain why the small folk of Dragonstone claimed the cannibal lived there even before the Targaryens came. It would explain why he's targeting the eggs and newborn dragons, because he knows it comes from a different lineage of dragons, and is being territorial. It would also explain the growth and size difference between him and the Targaryen dragons, as he comes from a completely different Valyrian lineage. Whether a House Targaryen dragon gone rogue or last Westerosi dragon or some other Valyrian family's dragon, one thing is certain: the cannibal is one of the most interesting dragons, and he will appear in Season 2 of House of the Dragon. Let me know your thoughts about the cannibal in the comment section down below. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a big thumbs up, and I hope to see you in the next one.